Welcome to the Broadway.com show, your must-have guide during the most wonderful time of the year, Tony season. I'm Ryan Lee Gilbert.
And I'm Imogen Lloyd-Webber. This week we hit the red carpet for a slew of opening nights, including Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, St. Joan, and more.
And later, Jimmy Buffett tells us all about bringing his music to the Great White Way in Escape to Margaritaville. But first, let's get started with the news. What's the buzz, Imogen?
Bette Midler is to put on her Sunday clothes once more. She is set to revisit her Tony-winning role in Hello, Dolly from July the 17th. David Hyde Pierce and Tony winner Gavin Creel will also return on that date as Horace and Cornelius, respectively. They'll close out the show with Divine Miss M. It's also been announced that the Tony-winning revival is scheduled to end its run at the Schubert Theatre on August 25th. Current stars Bernadette Peters and Victor Garber will play their final turns in the tuna on July the 15th, while Santino Fontana, currently in as Cornelius, is set to depart on May the 6th. Our favourite comment on the switcheroos came from Pierce, who said, quote, "Bette Midler is a crazy woman and I can't wait to get back on stage with her."
I feel the same way.
Are you talking about me?
Already on the boards in Eugene O'Neill's The Iceman Cometh, which opened this past week at the Jacobs Theatre, Denzel Washington has sights set on his next Broadway project. In an interview with the New York Times, the Tony and Oscar winner disclosed he'd like to collaborate with mega producer Scott Rudin on a new production of Shakespeare's King Lear. Washington told the Times that he and Rudin put together a list of possible plays and boiled it down to the Bard's Tragedy, which depicts the gradual descent into madness of the title character. Washington revealed that Rudin said, "Let's do Lear 5 years from now," to which he responded, "Okay, we'll do that next, God willing." Of course, Washington is no stranger to Shakespeare, having played the title role in an acclaimed 2005 Broadway production of Julius Caesar.
Principal casting has been announced for King Kong, which is set to stomp onto Broadway in the fall. Christiane Pitts, who is currently starring in the main stems A Bronx Tale, has been tapped as Anne Darrow, while Eric William Morris will take on the role of Carl Denham. Based on the 1932 novel, King Kong follows Pitts' young actress and Morris's maverick filmmaker as they voyage from the bustling streets of 1930s New York to an uncharted island to capture a 20-foot-high, 2,000-pound gorilla. Drew McConey will direct a book by Cursed Child's Jack Thorne, with music by Marista Reese and Eddie Perfect. Previews are scheduled to begin October the 5th, and opening night is set for November the 8th.
New Jersey's Paper Mill Playhouse announced that Tony winner Donna McKechnie will join Andre DeShields, Georgia Engel, and Lilias White in its production of Halftime, the new musical about professional basketball's first ever, aged 60 and older dance team. Featuring direction and choreography by Jerry Mitchell, a book by Bob Martin and Chad Begelin, music by Matthew Sklar, and lyrics by Nell Benjamin, Halftime will begin previews on May 31st. Olivier winner Chuck Wudiawuji will lead the public's Shakespeare in the Park staging of Othello, where he'll be joined by Heather Lind as Desdemona and Corey Stahl as the nefarious Iago. Directed by Ruben Santiago Hudson, Othello will kick off the summer Shakespeare in the Park season on May 29th in Central Park. As for what's happening on the West Coast, Reprise 2.0 announced that Legally Blonde Tony nominee Laura Bell Bundy will star as Charity Hope Valentine in its summer production of Sweet Charity, directed and choreographed by Kathleen Marshall. And in the fall, Bright Star Tony nominee Carmen Cusack will star as Victoria Grant in director Richard Israel's staging of Victor Victoria.
Awards season has certainly arrived. Nominations for the 63rd Annual Drama Desk Awards, which celebrate the best in Broadway, Off-Broadway, and Off-Off-Broadway, were announced this week. Carousel earned 12 nods, including nominations for Joshua Henry and Jessie Mueller in the Outstanding Actor and Actress categories. SpongeBob SquarePants, the Broadway musical, followed with 11 noms. The ceremony, which will be hosted by Michael Urie, will take place on June the 3rd at Town Hall. Additionally, SpongeBob SquarePants topped the list of the 68th Annual Outer Critics Circle Awards, which recognise excellence on and off Broadway. The new musical garnered 11 nominations, followed by Harry Potter and the Cursed Child with 10, and My Fair Lady with 9. Nominees in the leading actor categories include Angels in America's Andrew Garfield, Frozen's Patty Murin, and Mean Girls' Erica Henningsen and Taylor Louderman. Winners will be announced May the 7th, with awards presented at Sardi's on May the 24th. I recommend the crab cake.
The Baked Alaska is also excellent.
I think we deserve caricatures, although Dad doesn't have one.
Speaking of Dad, Tony winners and musical theater legends Andrew Lloyd Webber and Chita Rivera will receive special honors for lifetime achievement in the theater at the 2018 Tony Awards. Lloyd Webber, who recently released his first memoir, Unmasked, is currently represented on Broadway with School of Rock and The Phantom of the Opera, while Rivera holds the record for the most Tony nominations earned by a single performer and won trophies for her performances in The Rink and The Kiss of the Spider-Woman. As previously announced, Sarah Bareilles and Josh Groban will host the 72nd annual ceremony at Radio City Music Hall on June 10th. But the special honors don't stop there. Nick Scandalios, Executive Vice President of the Nederlander organization, has been named the recipient of the 2018 Isabel Stevenson Tony Award, which pays tribute to a member of the theater community who has made a substantial contribution of volunteer time and effort on behalf of one or more humanitarian, social service, or charitable organizations. Scandalios is being recognized for his advocacy and dedication to LGBTQ families.
When we come back, we catch up with the stars on the opening nights of summer, the Donna Summer Musical, Travesties, and more.
This week on Broadway.com, Frozen star Casey Levy and Angels in America's Nathan Lane sit down on Show People. Escape to Margaritaville's Paul Alexander Nolan gets Beachbody ready in his final episode of Beach Bum, and more.
The funniest musical in forever has just opened on Broadway.
I know, I'm telling everyone.
Time Out gives Mean Girls 4 stars.
Nailed it!
This show is a marvel.
Really? He just said so. Don't be thirsty.
Mean Girls.
Wow.
Get tickets now.
I forget what we're talking about.
Hello, I'm Glenda Jackson and you're watching the Broadway.com show. I hope you're enjoying it.
Welcome back. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is officially open at the Lyric Theatre. The two-part play catches up with Harry, Ron, and Hermione as adults. Author J.K. Rowling and the stars shared what it means to bring the beloved book series to Broadway.
I remember someone coming to see the play in the West End in the last week that we did it. And they went, this has been created with love. And to be able to hone and be in a room with people who are at the top of their game, wanting to tell a story in the best way that they can, that, for me, is why it works.
Yes, it's Harry Potter, and there's all the magic and all the fandom knowledge. We've got all of that. But it's a story about fathers and sons. It's a story about isolation. It's a story about grief. It's a story about family. And I think any person that steps into that auditorium will be able to empathize on some level with all of the characters.
The work's been done for you. You've got 7 volumes of epoch-making backstory on your side. You've got an audience that wants to make it happen. So you just have to kind of show up, get out of the way, which is easier said than done.
It just feels like a big family immediately. After like a week of rehearsal, I couldn't realize we had just known each other for such a short time. Really special people. I know I've made some friends for life.
This is a theatrical experience. It was written for the stage, and that's where I'd like it to stay. I fell in love with theatre through the process of doing this play. I really did. I have loved working with this team. It's been incredible.
The cast and creative team revealed what they hope audiences take away from the thrilling two-parter.
I hope they leave with the urge to hug their children.
I hope that they hold on to each other and realise how lucky we are to have families, fathers, sons, mothers, daughters, and that we should cherish each other every day that we can.
The messages of light against darkness, I mean, we need that in abundance right now. So I hope that, people have a bit of hope.
There's so many conversations and thoughts, family relationships, how we deal with grief, the parents that we want to be. As someone who hopes to be a parent one day, it's like, you really have a lot on your shoulders.
I hope people investigate what they think darkness means, whether that's a child who feels unloved, whether that's someone who's been ignored, whether that's a grab for power politically. What does it mean for darkness to rise, and what does it mean to fight it? I hope everybody asks that question.
Get out your disco ball. Summer, the Donna Summer Musical, bowed on Broadway this week. The new musical tells the story of the disco queen, Donna Summer, and features her chart-topping hits like Hot Stuff, Love to Love You Baby, and more. We caught up with star Ariana DeBose and more on the big night.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm over the moon. It's a great night for Donna Summer and her legacy and who she was, and I feel so honored and humbled.
I'm coming back to reality. I'm still floating on a cloud. I just got to be Donna Summer in Summer, the Donna Summer Musical. I couldn't be happier. I truly couldn't be happier. When you study a person, there's so many different parts to them. How can you possibly embody one human being's life in an hour and 40 minutes? You can't. And so to be able to split her into pieces and have each of us focus on one piece and yet have this essence of this woman together makes taking on the challenge of being the disco queen possible.
I am bookended by the most beautiful women. I'm like LaShawne's, what a legend, back on Broadway. And it's been such a privilege to watch her work and to learn from her. She's an incredible leader. And then to have Storm Lever making a ferocious Broadway debut. And I just can't wait to see where she goes next, because she's truly a gem.
The biomusical throws it back to the days of the hustle, and its message of female empowerment could not be more relevant in 2018.
It's a great show for our time. You know, it's about the empowerment of women, and there are a lot of contemporary issues at play here. So I think that those things marry themselves with the music in a really, uplifting way.
There's a huge responsibility in telling this story in 2018, in the wake of the Me Too movement and Time's Up, because it is, to be able to tell this woman's story, an icon who had to take back her career, who was able to do it successfully in a time when not many other artists were doing it, particularly black female artists. It's such a good mirror to be able to hold up to our audiences.
I want people to talk about this full woman. We've celebrated her music, we know her music, we love her music. Now it's time to talk about all the things that she went through. We say that this is a story from the 70s and 80s. No, this is a story happening now, and we need to address it, we need to talk about it, and we need to change it.
Tom Stoppard's Travesties is back on Broadway in an acclaimed revival headlined by Tom Hollander. The play, which follows three revolutionaries, Lenin, James Joyce and Tristan Tzara in 1917 Zurich, opened this week. We caught up with the stars on the red carpet.
It's a thrill to be on Broadway with the show. It's a crazy, beautiful piece of art. It's so audacious.
It turned out to be this fantastic experience with a great group of incredibly talented people, and everyone's their own instrument in the orchestra and a different sound, and we're having a ball.
We're about 100 years on from when the events of this play take place, and the artists and the revolutionaries in the play are working in reaction to a major world event, the First World War, the most devastating loss of life ever known in the history of the world up until that point. And they were all trying to figure out how to respond, how to exist and function in a world where that kind of atrocity was possible.
The legendary playwright is thrilled to see Travesties back on the boards. The cast performing his work sung his praises.
Playwrights, they write so that their plays can be performed. It's not just the text. So it was extremely wonderful for me when there was a new production. There hadn't been one in London for more than 20 years. And, we like to get out and about with our work, so that was a big thing for me.
He's just a brilliant man, so as an actor, it's a huge privilege to perform his work. If he asks you to, then that's a great honor. It's sometimes very difficult. It makes you feel stupid sometimes, but then it makes you feel that it makes you feel clever as well. It kind of exercises your brain and those watching it as well. It's like Cirque du Soleil with ideas.
He has this incredible ability to put fine points on ideas and tackle these massive concepts that are so hard to even think about. And then he's able to write about them in a way that is stimulating, but where you also 100% believe that they're coming from the people on the stage. And I think that we look at the world today and we're still asking a lot of the same questions. And Tom Stoppard was brilliantly able to write this incredible, ambitious piece of theater that finds the meaning in that, but also finds the humor in it and finds the humanity in these people. And ultimately, it's just a hell of a good time.
Three-time Tony nominee Condola Rashad is taking on the title role in George Bernard Shaw's Saint Joan. Set in 15th century France, the play centers on a country girl whose mysterious visions lead her to become one of history's greatest heroines. We talked with the stars about this new production on opening night.
I'm so humbled and so grateful that this story has come to me in the way that it has, and it's a blessing every single time I have to get on that stage. Every single day, every performance is, we give it everything that we have, and it's liberating.
I'm super excited to have opened the show. It's party time.
We're celebrating the fact that it's all behind us in terms of rehearsal and all in front of us in terms of performance.
We, I think, all as a company, feel very, very proud of this production. Daniel Sullivan has really delivered a beautiful kind of first-class production of a great play that certainly deserves to be heard again.
I don't know if MTC or Dan had his finger on the pulse of the political landscape or what when he decided he wanted to do this, but the timeliness of the piece, I think, is very kismet. It's great. It's important to be a part of work like this.
Intolerance and cruelty doesn't appear to have gone away. There's a reason why this play has had resonance ever since it was written, sadly. Examining what happens when people are very, very certain about their opinion and how horribly wrong that can go is something that is worth exploring at any time.
Rashad revealed what she loves most about playing Joan of Arc.
Well, it started a long time ago, actually, for me. I mean, I started getting really into her shoes back in October, November, when I started doing my research for this. So it has been quite the epic journey. Discovering how much Joan's heart was full of love is a really, really moving experience for me.
It's an amazing play about a bunch of amazing people with this amazing woman who's playing this amazing woman.
I mean, she's the kind of person when you walk on stage and you look in her eyes, there is no choice but to be with her. I feel so gifted to be able to play with her and learn from her, and she leads our company every day in a circle before every single show, and we talk about themes that feel right for today. We pick a word and we just sort of look each other in the eye, and that's her doing. She's an incredible leader and an incredible castmate.
When we return, we chat with ESCAPE to Margaritaville music man Jimmy Buffett about bringing his tunes to Broadway.
Ben Brantley of the New York Times calls The Book of Mormon the best musical of this century. This was my 4th time seeing it, and they still had me at hello. Winner of 9 Tony Awards, including Best Musical. The Book of Mormon on Broadway.
Welcome back. I'm joined by Mr. Jimmy Buffett.
Hello, Paul.
How
are
you doing?
you?
I love that you're a Broadway personality now.
Well, thank you for that compliment.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it too. You know, I walk to work down Broadway every day when I'm in town because I just like to do it because I can't believe we're here. You come down to it, it's a pretty small community, but you know, I didn't come here to raise hell or anything. I came here to be a part of things. So it's happening. So I like that.
Yeah, it's happening because ESCAPE to Margaritaville at the Marquis Theater. I think it's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
And I have to be totally honest and say I was not a parrot head.
It's okay, because, you know, that's what we're fishing for.
Exactly. I mean, I knew a few of your songs, I knew some of the hits, but I fell in love with all of it. I love the good times you're showing people.
It's a good evening of fun, and, you know, I'm not here to make some kind of theological discovery here.
Right.
We're just going to Margaritaville.
Right. That's your brand.
Yeah.
That's your brand, and people love it.
Yes, you don't go far from that. Lucky enough to get one, you don't try to go, now what else can we do for it?
Right.
The interesting thing to me was it's a different kind of way for my loyal audience to look at new stuff and see songs that they've known forever used in a completely different way, which is the reaction to that. What I loved about what people thought was, you know, what I came, if there was any kind of a mission to do it, was not to be considered, you know, a total jukebox musical. I wanted a great story behind it because as a writer, I like to have story behind things. And people really like the story, and that's a credit to our story writers.
You're on the road all the time. I think you're in New Orleans at the Jazz Fest
going
this
to Jazz
weekend.
Fest soon,
I mean,
yeah.
you're always on the road, and I've heard the experience of seeing you on the road is amazing and unforgettable.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had friends. My friend Maria is probably flipping out that I'm sitting with you because she talks about
She's
the
one of
experience.
those?
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
Absolutely. Was it important for you to capture what those people talk about seeing a Jimmy Buffett concert in this show?
Yes.
And what is that? How would you explain that?
I think it's simple escapism. I come from a Mardi Gras culture. I grew up on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
You know, I was born in a little town called Pascagoula, Mississippi, and grew up in Mobile, but my musical roots come out of New Orleans. I went to school close to there, and I started on Bourbon Street when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
And if you're in a Mardi Gras culture, what it is to me is I would put on a costume for anything because, you know, the only A I ever made in high school was in float decoration. You know, it was an art class. You know, the rest of it I wasn't too good at. But it was so much a part of growing up that Mardi Gras was that in life in general, 2 days off a year just to let steam blow off seems like a good thing to have for humanity, you know. And what we discovered as we all of a sudden became more popular in our world of touring, when we go to places and people would try to figure it out, and I'd go back to saying, you know, Cincinnati, for example, I have no relatives there, I've never lived there, and all of a sudden we sell more tickets there than the Rolling Stones. Now go figure it, I have no idea, other than the fact that it's so kind of Midwest conservative, they need a couple of days off and we're it when we come, and we were there Mardi Gras. If that's your background and you come into the world of musical theater, it's already been there forever. That's what people, it's escapism from reality most of the time, you know?
Yeah.
And then my mother's love of musical theater when I was a kid, you put that on top of it, that she was an avid member of the local theater guild in Mobile, Alabama, and took us to shows. And then when any road show was in town, she would take us to the show. And I just loved the experience. So you put that into that whole kind of idea of where it all came from, and that's kind of it.
Can you remember any shows you saw as a kid?
Absolutely.
That had an impact on you?
I remember seeing her play Bloody Mary in South Pacific.
Oh, she was acting in this.
Oh, she was acting,
yeah.
yeah.
Bloody Mary.
Yeah, she was Bloody Mary.
That's a
and
fun
then
role.
she so wanted us to be Emile DeBeck's children, my sister and I. You know, I can still do the songs, but I was a baseball player, and but we would go watch her. But South Pacific, because of that, and seeing it elsewhere, and The King and I was her favorite too, and so she never got to really come see shows on Broadway until much later in life. But growing up, we went to everything that came through Mobile or New Orleans. We would go see shows.
So the fantastic Paul Alexander Nolan, who we love here at Broadway.com, he plays Tully.
Yes.
And Tully is actually a character that you've written about in the past in your books.
Yeah.
A version of Tully, right? This is a name you.
Yeah, he was a character that I named in the first book of short stories, and then he comes back again in another book. I always loved the name, but the character in the books is a cowboy from Montana that goes to the ocean, you know. And this Tully is more of a bar singer in Margaritaville, but Paul was so good when he walked in. He had it, but he needed a tan, and he needed to go play bars. So that's what I thought. So, and I loved it. I said, you know, we've got a guitar player was essential, and Paul is a really good guitar player. And there are other people that came in, you could tell they practiced a long time for those three chords, you know. and then asked him to play a G minor seventh, and you had him. But he was good. I sent Paul to bar singer school. I sent him to, he went to Islamorada, Florida, and for 2 weeks, and he worked in a bar called the Green Turtle Inn, which one of our producers owned. So I said, no, you got to be there where you can't. It's not a quiet place, and you can't play above everybody. You got to sit here.
Right.
There are going to be people not paying any attention to you. There are going to be ESPN screens on and blenders going. And so you got to learn that those are not distractions. They're just part of what goes on. And your job is to make sure, with all that going on, that you can still get a few people to listen to you. And he was scared to death in the beginning because he was so worried. He was worried about trying to make this.
Right.
I said, don't worry about it. They'll never hear the guitar. Just practice.
They're hearing the blenders.
yeah. You don't have to worry about this. That'll come later. But get used to being up here and all this action going on.
Yeah.
Because part of what we're going to do there that may be a little different is we're going to involve this audience more than most audience that I've been in or involved with. You know, to the start of, I said, the first thing I did is I went and talked to the theater managers, and I said, you know, I need to talk to your ushers. We're not going to the principal's office. We're going to Margaritaville. You know, and they got to lighten up a little, you know, because I've been in there. It's put that camera away.
The ushers can be tough.
I will put you in the dungeon. You know, and I went, whoa.
Jimmy, would you mind actually going to all the Broadway theaters and talking to the ushers? I would
sure,
appreciate that. Now you just got to add cup holders, and then you're gonna really transform Broadway.
What, you think so? Okay, well, I'm up for it.
Now, everyone, honestly, people have to see this show. I love Escape to Margaritaville. I think I'm an honorary parrot head. I think I'm headed
You're
down
more
that
than
path.
that with that shirt, Paul. I'm telling you. This
wore
is
the
good.
shirt for you.
This is good, yeah. It's an honor to be here, and I get goose pimples now thinking that we're actually here doing this. You know, in the Brill building, talking about a Broadway show. I couldn't be happier. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
All right,
Jimmy.
appreciate it
Great
so
to
much.
see you.
All right.
When we come back, a splashy music video from Ethan Slater and the cast of SpongeBob SquarePants.
The funniest musical in forever has just opened on Broadway.
I know, I'm telling everyone.
Time Out gives Mean Girls 4 stars.
Nailed it!
This show is a marvel.
Really? He just said so, don't be thirsty.
Mean Girls.
Wow.
Get tickets now.
I forget what we're talking about.
Hi, I'm Michael Cera and you're watching the Broadway.com show.
Thank you for watching the Broadway.com show.
We leave you with Ethan Slater and the cast of SpongeBob SquarePants performing the anthem Just a Simple Sponge.
See you next week.
No, I'm not a simple